How's it going, Chad? I just watched Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie 3, and I didn't. That was 2 days ago. So I'm gonna throw out my thoughts on the movie. It's a spoiler review, but if you want to know, you probably already know it's really good. Let's start with the basics. This is definitely the best Sonic movie in the trilogy. I felt like the first was like good in terms of its writing, but it wasn't very Sonic-y. It was a buddy cop road trip comedy with Sonic in it, and it was written good. It was a good movie. The second I thought was weaker in terms of its writing, but it had more Sonic stuff, and it was a lot more funnier and bombastic, so I'd say it's a lot more entertaining and a lot more engaging compared to the first film, but I still think writing-wise it's a lot weaker. I didn't feel as emotionally connected to the characters as I did in the first. There was also a lot of good visual effects in the second movie, but then there were a lot of scenes where the visual effects were just really bad. I heard that in the second movie they got the Sonic model from MPC Vancouver, which shut down before Sonic 2 was in production, and there were pretty much no notes left on how to actually work the model, so I think a lot of time might have been trying to figure that out, and then that messed with like the production schedule or something. I don't know. But the point is that it was made over COVID, and it was made with a Sonic model that no one knew how to use. But holy guacamole, Sonic 3 looks spectacular. Like, this is the most animated I've seen the characters. This is the most, like, realistic I've seen the characters. They composited onto the live action stuff so well. So yeah, simply this movie looks really good from a technical standpoint. And I really love how Jim Carrey plays both Eggman and Gerald Robotnik, and they do a lot of physical interactions. And I know people were hating on the little laser dance scene that was shown off in clips, but I'm not gonna lie, that scene is awesome just because you know it's the same actor dancing with each other. And maybe it was easier to do just because Gerald has a lot of prosthetics on his face, but still, the fact that it looks like Jim Carrey is seamlessly interacting with Jim Carrey is really impressive. Sonic is also the most likable he's been in the series. Especially in that mid-credit scene, he seems so like confident. He's getting there. He's getting so close to Game Sonic, guys. And in that third act, Sonic really locked in. He stopped making corny jokes, and it was just full straight on, played straight, except for Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey just loves being goofy, so that's whatever. But Sonic, he was played completely straight. Not Jim Carrey though, he was played completely bisexual. That being said, I feel like there is one moment in the movie where I felt Jim Carrey needed to lock in a bit and stop being goofy, and that's when Eggman kills Gerald, which is a crazy thing to say. It is very comedically done, and I think it would have had a lot more impact if Eggman just like, he was taking it a lot more seriously, because he did have to kill his own family. Like, that's a pretty heavy thing. But Eggman's death kind of goes hard, like, especially when you're adapting a series like Sonic the Hedgehog, where you know, like, Sonic's never gonna die, Eggman's not gonna die, he's gonna be the main antagonist for the entire series. Killing off Eggman is quite a crazy thing to do. And they kill him off in a way where, you know, you don't see the body, so he could be alive, he could be dead, you know, there's a lot of chaos energy on the Eclipse cannon, so he could have actually been teleported, chaos controlled somewhere else. They never actually say chaos control in the movie, but I think that it does make sense. The Chaos Emeralds are never really used until they needed to use Supersonic, so that's, yeah. But still, I really liked Eggman's death, and I really like how they repurposed Eggman's announcement. Like, him in the games, he screens himself to every television around the world, every screen around the world, threatening the Earth. But this time he screens himself just to London to make up for Agent Stone, because he was like, oh, Agent Stone, you're fired because you're not accepting my granddaddy, because Agent Stone picked up on Gerald Robotnik's plan earlier in the movie. And so he starts doing these like little corny throwbacks to the first movie, saying lines from there. And I think it was pretty sweet. He was finally able to refer to Stone as a friend, even if he kind of cheated. He said he was a sicker friend. Then he kind of ends up insulting Stone, saying, thanks for nothing, it was a drag. And it does kind of seem mean at first, but I think it was Eggman kind of going like, nothing's really changed between us, even though I got a little mad at you earlier in the movie. I still consider you a henchman, and the best henchman in the world, my best hench friend. Loki makes up for the Gerald Robotnik death, but yeah. Speaking of death, Commander Walters kind of dies. It's really quickly done. It's very like glossed over, but he's like really badly injured, and he gives like one of the Eclipse Cannon keys to Sonic, and he just dies. He goes like, ugh. And it's kind of like it's kind of the death where you're not really sure if he's dead or not, or if he's just passed out. And later in the movie, he does kind of come back in quotation marks because Tom is using holograms to pretend to be Walters. He's just like, I wouldn't die from that. And then, I mean, that you think he's alive, but then it just turns out to be Tom. But at the same time, it's like, he could still be alive. Is he dead or alive, guys? Either way, it doesn't matter. I guess we'll find out in the next movie. Let's talk about music though. They really pulled out the they really pulled out the big guns, you know. It's not like it's not like the Mario movie where it's just like Mario song, Mario song, Mario song, take on me, Mario song, Mario song. There's a lot of original compositions, there's a lot of licensed music, and I think in total there are 8 pieces of Sonic music in there. But 8 is pretty good. That's better than 3 in the first movie and 3 in the second. And especially when it's music from Sonic Adventure 2 where the music is closely tied to a lot of emotional beats. That makes the music they use a lot more meaningful compared to Mario. Like look, the invincibility music is cool, but it's just a power-up that you don't emotionally care about in the games. But when I hear the last scene from Sonic Adventure 2, my heartstrings will be pulled. So let me list out all the musical tracks we have in the movie. Firstly, we have the exact same rendition of Green Hill Zone from the first movie, that one on the piano. And of course, we have the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog Eggman theme. In fact, 3 of the tracks they used were Eggman themes. So we have the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog one, we have the Adventure Eggman theme, which is only there for like a split second. It was used as a ringtone, and he answers the phone so quickly you barely hear it. And then when the Eclipse Cannon is rising up from the Thames, you hear the Unleashed in 06 Eggman theme. And then we have City Escape, which played in London. Sonic was actually talking so much I didn't notice it, but my friend noticed City Escape was credited in the credits, and I eventually, someone posted it on Twitter, so now I know what it sounds like now. Then we obviously have Live and Learn, which is used so many times in the movie. Like even at the beginning, you hear Maria playing Live and Learn on an acoustic guitar. And it's kind of like a leitmotif used throughout the movie until the very end, where you hear it fully like actualized at the very end when they become Super Sonic and Super Shadow and save the Earth together. Also, hi, I forgot to mention in the original recording that they played the Level Complete jingle. And then of course they have the last scene as well, which if you don't know what that is, that's just the last piece of music that plays at the end of Sonic Adventure 2 when they're standing on the Ark reflecting on everything that's happened, and then it plays over the credits before Live and Learn plays. I really wish they used Reflection though, which is the piece that plays when Shadow dies in SA2 when he's falling to Earth and everyone's celebrating that the Earth is saved. But, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised that the last scene is even in it because it's just not as iconic as everything else. So this is where it gets into Shadow and Maria's story. They've made quite a few changes. Shadow isn't created by Gerald Robotnik. He's actually an alien that was found inside a comet that landed on Earth. But Shadow has no memories of his homeworld. He just knows the Earth. I do really like though that they do a really good job of establishing Shadow and Maria's relationship. They have like a lot of cute moments together, and you see Shadow like using rollerblades, kind of foreshadowing his use of the air shoes. Although I feel like they could have established a little better how all of the researchers kind of treat him like a creature. Because he's an alien that they found, he's not allowed to live on the Earth like normal. Instead of living normally on the Ark, he's stuck in a research lab on Earth. Which is understandable because in the world they set up in the previous 2 movies, the Ark would make no sense. They actually explained in Sonic 2 that Gun was actually created as a result of Sonic in Sonic 1. But then in the Knuckles show they kind of backtrack on it and say that Gun became Gun in Sonic 1, but they already existed prior, under a different name. But then the gun soldiers in the flashback still have the G symbol on their helmets and stuff, so were they just called Guardians or something? I guess they're a small American military before Sonic 1, maybe they're just Guardians of the Nation. But then after Sonic 1, they become a global task force is what I think Commander Walters calls it. So instead of being the Guardians of the Nation, they become Guardian Units of Nations, plural of all nations, I guess. I think that's what they're trying to go for. But yeah, I wish they did try to antagonize Gun a little bit more. And I don't know if they just didn't know about Maria having NIDS, but yeah, Maria is not a sickly person in the movie. I mean, it's not even established in the game Sonic Adventure 2, so it kind of makes sense if they didn't know, but I think they were consulting with Sega about the movie, so I'm not too sure what was going on there. I think it would have been interesting if Maria was actually sick, which actually gave her a reason to move into the gun base. But her only motivation for moving in was that she just wanted to be around her grandpa. And it also gives Shadow a goal in the past. It would have maybe been interesting if Gerald wanted to find a way to harness chaos energy to help cure illnesses. Maybe he receives a little cut or scrape and gets an infection, then you start seeing the chaos energy start like electrifying and healing Shadow. And just in general, the fact that Shadow wants to cure Maria is what makes the tragedy so much more tragic. Like seeing the person you're trying to cure get killed has to be heartbreaking. And while that's not shown off in Sonic Adventure 2, it's one of the elements that I know about Shadow that makes me like him more as a character. That being said, I still do think the movie sets up Shadow as a character better than Sonic Adventure 2 because it has these slice of life scenes that Sonic Adventure 2 didn't have that really properly establishes Shadow and Maria's backstory without you having to translate Japanese strategy guides to help you understand what's happening. Another interesting thing though is that Shadow isn't really brainwashed and Maria doesn't have a dying wish. Instead, Shadow has been in suspended animation animation for 50 years, and he has to keep reliving the scene of Maria dying because it's the very last memory he'd made. So it's this anger that's been building up for 50 years, and it's exploding, and he wants to destroy all of humanity because of it. But Shadow is by nature not a bad person. So when he hurts Tom and then sees that Sonic cares, it reminds him that he was in that position at some point with Maria. And he double takes for a second, like Sonic hasn't done anything wrong, why would he want to put Sonic through the same thing that he went through? And in that third act, Shadow does a lot of like, hit me Sonic, kill me Sonic, you know, you've got what you wanted, right? It's like Joker in The Dark Knight, hit me, just hit me! And I think Shadow is thinking that if someone as positive as Sonic can succumb to darkness, then what's wrong with Shadow, who has gone through a lot worse than Sonic, succumbing to even more darker urges or thoughts? If Sonic kills Shadow out of anger, sure, Shadow won't get his revenge, but I think he'll kind of die peacefully, knowing that he tried his best and he did the right thing. So when Sonic is willing to spare Shadow, Shadow doesn't have that justification anymore to seek out revenge. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Maybe realistically a 7.5 to 8 out of 10 objectively, but 9 out of 10 just because of the sentimental value. I'm gonna dunk on Mario for a bit. You know, I feel like Sonic is just a much more special series. The fact that it's been through a lot of ups and downs makes it a little bit more special when we do reach those highs. Like sure, the Mario movie might have made $1 billion, but it's the most meaningless Hollywood slop ever. Mario has consistently good games, and even if it's slop, people are gonna still gas it up because it's Mario. Again, like the Mario movie, it's just Hollywood slop. It's just an Easter egg fest. But with the first Sonic movie being good but lacking the Sonicness to it, and the second one being more Sonic but less good, I didn't really feel like the Sonic movies had an edge against Mario until now. Sonic 3 is the best video game movie at the moment. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes it's actually second to Werewolves Within, but who cares about Werewolves Within? So yeah, being a Sonic fan is like being in the trenches, but we got there, we got somewhere, we're here now. Best video game movie. That is a real accomplishment, especially from a franchise like Sonic. But yeah, time ran out, bye.